welcome to another episode of Sage Cigarettes Presents A Ghost in the Magazine. I'm Stef.
And I'm Elle.
And we are recording the final episode, thank baby Jesus in the tuxedo t-shirt, of the It saga. We covered the miniseries, we covered It Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, and now we're going to talk about the novel. So obviously, we're not going to discuss plot point by plot point because first of all, it's over 1,000 pages. Mm-hmm. And second of all, we've covered the basic plot to death by this point. So we're going to talk about some fucked up shit that happened in the book, things that we don't agree with, and I'm going to dish out some redemption from my boy Mike Hanlon. So Elle, initial thoughts.
Well, since you brought Mike up, he's definitely the most interesting character in my opinion. I'm not a fan of Bill. I think Bill is an annoying person. I don't like him. He seems full of himself. I think I watched the miniseries after I read the book the first time when I was younger. And so I didn't remember Bill and Beverly banging as they do in the book.
As adults?
Yes.
Yeah, they definitely do, which kind of adds a trashy element in my opinion.
I didn't like that. I like that the miniseries glossed that over. So did the movie. They didn't.
Yeah, because it's a moot fucking point.
Yeah.
You don't have to get it, like, and they are talking about how Bill feels guilty because, you know, he has a whole wife. Mm-hmm. Not guilty enough to be like, I may want to do this again in the morning or whatever. Like,
yeah, it's just, on top of it, the Bills that we see cast in the movie are like attractive, younger looking men. And the description we have in the book is like a paunchy, middle-aged, balding guy. And yet he's banging everyone and is just like fucking king shit fuckboy. And it's like, what? How is this believable, dude? What is going on here?
King shit fuckboy. It's obviously because everyone's attracted to writers and writers.
No,
right?
They're not.
In King's mind,
he's a successful writer. So as an unsuccessful writer, I can say nobody likes me, but
I like you.
Yeah, well, I like you too, but we're both unsuccessful writers for the most part. But,
it's true. But hey, we have a podcast. Yeah. So
that redeems it all.
Everything. Yes, we're winners. Okay. So I feel like maybe, and I could be wrong, that King modeled Bill a little bit after himself, which is strange because physically they're not the same. Like at all. I'm not even going to talk about the differences like in adulthood. You know, some of their jobs were different, and I'm sure they had reasons for that.
Well, what it tells me is like when they made the movies versus like when the book was published, like what they thought were successful jobs, especially with the new movie. I'm sure they looked at Richie as a DJ and they're like, fucking DJs are middle income losers now, you know? So they're
Sure. But okay, so I guess I'm thinking of Eddie because he was
but maybe
they thought, a limo driver.
Yeah, maybe they thought a limo driver was too low class. And another
he had his own company and he was transporting celebrities as opposed to being a risk analyst, which is humorous. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, they made some interesting choices. It did make me wonder. I guess the risk analyst thing, maybe it was just more like they wanted everyone to understand he's the nerd. The other thing is again, they cast some like just hot actor, generic white man instead of like a thin, pale, like sickly looking person like me, which is how they describe Eddie.
Ma'am. This is not a self-deprecation podcast.
Well, no, I just like, I guess in my mind, I related to Eddie as somebody who's like allergic to everything. My friends always thought I was sick because I would get really pale all the time and when I was a kid. People who are very anxious and nervous, which actually is what Eddie is. Eddie's not actually very sickly. He just believes he is. And see, I grew up the same way. My mom wasn't as bad, but you have an anxiety reaction that is like all of the blood draining out of your face. And that is something that I feel like I had very much in common with Eddie.
This is not where I expected this to go, but I love it. I really do.
Well, we can talk about the gross shit. I'm just trying to like dance around.
There's lots of gross stuff, but I want to start with Mike because literally in every episode that I've been on, this month, I have something to say about the way that they portray Mike. Okay. So, one thing that has to be noted in the remake, his parents are dead. They died in a fire. They were drug addicts who died in a fire.
Oh, that's right. That's fucked.
Yes,
I didn't even remember that part.
That newspaper article said like something about local crackheads die in a fire, something like that, which is disgusting. Okay, he was raised by his grandfather, and the reason why this absolutely disgusts me, and I want to hear the reasoning behind it, is because it takes away all of the richness of who Mike is. Mm-hmm. And it makes me feel like they already knew when they made the first part how they were going to make Mike. Because if Mike had the wholesome, trouble because he's a Black child in the 50s, but wholesome because both of his parents were in his life, they were together, mm-hmm. And his father instilled this love of history in him, mm-hmm. It would have been very hard for them to spin that Mike into the adult of It Chapter 2. Mm-hmm. It would have not been very believable at all.
I just thought of something too that just like hit me right in this moment. You know how, so in the book, Mike's dad is a soldier who was stationed in Derry, and he felt like, even though he went through this like terrible experience, he felt this need to come back. Maybe that's why, because see, I didn't see it explained why Mike was the one that stayed there and was like the watchman or whatever, but maybe it's because that anchor with his dad, like they just had the psychic sense that this is what we have to do.
Yes.
Yeah, that just made sense in my head. That just lined up in my head, and I was like, oh, that's actually really good. That's compelling.
Call me a fucking geek or whatever, but I got shivers, because this is all I want, is for people to understand him in this way. I love a deep man. Mm-hmm. I love a deep fictional man. Like, yes. Bring me back to like my adolescence where I had all these crushes on characters with just these long histories and stories, and like people see them one way but they're really this other way. Mm-hmm. But it is also because he was the only Black friend. Yeah, it's very important. So another thing that is super important to me, representation in the media matters. Mm-hmm. King did it right. There's a lot of fucked up shit in this book, but that's one thing that he did right. Okay, mm-hmm. He's very open about the racism in his characters, and he tempered them with this huge big fat gold nugget. So in the newer movies, they mention the explosion at the ironworks on mm-hmm. Easter that, killed all the children. That's important. Yeah. However, one thing that they don't dive into, which they need to, is the fire at the Black spot, ironically, was a Black club. It was for Black people. And that was the only place that they really had. And the fire was set by white supremacists. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things that Derry tries to pretend didn't happen. They slowly change their history. They whitewash it to make themselves seem better. They don't want to address the blatant racism and violence of the city. They just want to paint over it. And how Will Hamlin got out of the Black spot is because of Dick Halloran from The Shining.
Oh, and shit. Yes. I didn't make that connection. Yes, oh my God.
I freaked out when I first read that. Dick Halloran was there, and it was his Shining that helped them escape.
Oh, shit. Yeah, dude. That's awesome.
Why would they not take that opportunity to explore that for King nerds? Why?
What they did with the damn second movie was they took that fire and made it into that abomination of what happened to his dad, and his dad holding that story till his deathbed and then sharing it, because he was dying of cancer in the book, and he shared it with Mike. That moment, I have to say, like, that scene, reading that scene of like the description of the bodies burning and stuff, I got physically sick. I got nauseous from reading that scene. It was well written. It was very well written. It was terrifying and disturbing, but it was really well written.
It's just so important. I just feel like this is one of the things that they should have maybe centered around. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it just lends to all of the deep evils that Derry has. So on top of Derry trying to hide the blatant racism that it still continues, like Henry Bowers is racist, Eddie's mom is racist, super racist, and she's also like intimidated by a little girl. It's crazy pants to me.
Yeah.
But also of domestic abuse, because it's not just Beverly. They have this, I don't like to even remember it really, but the Corcoran brothers, Edward and Dorsey Corcoran, like one boy goes missing and then the other one, just the details around it. It really makes me wonder if where Stephen King grew up, it was incredibly common for children to be hit. Because there's a lot of, and there's another story of a little girl, I don't remember her name, but there's just a lot. And Henry Bowers is abused by his father.
His father is an unhinged racist psychopath too, and
he's crazy pants.
Henry Bowers is an example of, as they say on Trailer Park Boys, when a shit apple tree has shit apples in a field of shit, and that shit apple drops into that field of shit, what is it going to be but a shit apple tree? That's what Henry Bowers is the shit apple tree. He's the classic example.
I've never heard that reference before.
If you hang around me long enough, I'm full of Star Trek and Trailer Park Boys references. That's all I got.
Okay, so before I move on, the other thing that I want to mention about Mike Hanlon and Henry Bowers' complicated relationship, Henry's dad hates Mike's dad because they both had farms, and he's a shitty farmer, and that's his own fucking fault, but he blames Phil Hanlon, and he also passed that down to his kid.
Yep. The characters, I mean, I get that there's not room for all that development in the movies from the book, but it's so disappointing to me.
This is why I stand by my thought that I've always had, even since ever since I read the book. Make an actual mini series. I said this last episode, I'm pretty sure. Take the time, because people will appreciate it. Take the time. If you're going to do it right. The remake wasn't terrible, but the disrespect to the Black character was gross. The cultural appropriation and the weird shit he did, it's gross. It's really gross. It's unnecessary. Like, making that change was so bad.
Yep.
And a lot of people were talking about it on Twitter. I vividly remember, because I jumped on that train so quick. And that was when I told everybody here, I said, get ready, because we're going to cover it in detail next year.
Yeah, I didn't watch it until we did it for this. I'm kind of glad, because I don't know. It was an experience to be rereading the book and watching both of those at the same time.
So another Easter egg in this book, and I'm sure there are more. This is just what my little brain can do. So Bill has a speech impediment. He has a stutter. So in speech therapy, he's told to repeat this phrase over and over again. He thrusts his fist against the post and still insists he sees the ghosts. That phrase is in Salem's Lot. When Mark Petrie's in his bedroom and he's encountering a vampire outside his window, he says the same thing to try to quell his fear.
That's cool. Yeah. Good Stephen King movies. Like the Stephen King movies I grew up on, there were always those little things that connected them, and that's why
I love those.
I love it. Yeah. His
brain is just a massive, wonderful horror engine.
The sexual elements we've got to get to, because yikes on trikes.
I know, it's hurting me too. Okay, so we can start that with this. In the newer movies, Patrick Hockstetter he's a strange boy, but he's not nearly as horrifying as he is in the book. So in the book, Patrick, as a kindergartner, murders his baby brother. He just suffocates him in his sleep and then goes about his day, and he's happy that he can start receiving his meals on time again, and there's no more interruptions to his daily life. So as an adolescent, he falls in with Henry Bowers and Victor Chris and Belch Huggins, and he harms small animals. And he
has a
refrigerator in the dump. So this scene is, can I tell you that in my mind, because I blocked out most of the other ones, this scene stuck with me vividly.
It's a bad scene. Like that, the refrigerator and Mr. Chips, and this wasn't even, which Henry kills Mike Hanlon's dog, Mr. Chips. This isn't even
I forgot about that.
Yeah, this isn't even a movie, and I still was disturbed by the violence against animals. But I mean, he puts them in this refrigerator and just leaves them to see how long it takes them to die.
I'm shaking a little bit.
Yeah,
because I couldn't reread the scene, but it's just stuck there. And it wasn't just that, it was all of it.
The farts like getting lit on fire.
Yes, this is witnessed by Beverly. She was trying to practice her marksmanship because they had an actual plan to defeat it. They had silver slugs, which, hey, in movies, silver is what kills werewolves. And he took the form of a werewolf a lot. She was going to be the one, she was the best shot. So she went to the dump because she couldn't find the boys anywhere and thought her friends were there, but she saw the bad boys and they had their pants around their ankles and they were lighting their farts on fire. Funny. Then it turns not so funny. Patrick has a strange, gross, intimate moment with Henry Bowers where he shows him how to do something new, and Henry freaks out and says basically he's not with that gay shit, and he says if you tell anybody about this, I'm going to tell them that you kill little animals and keep them in the fridge. So he left, and Beverly's trying to bide her time so she can get out of there. When Patrick opens the fridge, and honestly this grosses me out so bad I'm starting to itch, there are flesh-colored leeches with wings in there. And they attack him, they land on him, and when they feed on him, they explode. And it's the grossest shit.
It is. I do wonder though, like, why? Like, why in that moment? He seems like the type of person that it would keep around to influence, because he likes
a dog body.
Yeah, he likes to have those dogs' bodies. You know, they've already got a twisted mind, so they're easy to influence. So
pause for a second.
Okay.
only because in the last episode, I think it was, there was some confusion between all of us as to whether it was actually Beverly's dad or if he was possessed, and I was very certain he was possessed. It possesses these twisted minds.
Yeah. And it's not clear in the movies, but it's very clear in the book that like it does get into people, and that's why you see like this history of just absolute terror and horror through Derry, and nobody does anything about it because it can influence everything.
They also have like a slight biblical thingy that really grossed me out as a former church kid when you hear those voices in the drain, and it was saying, you know, like, I am legion and things like that, preying on old, because in a predominantly white New England town, most of those people go to church.
I just I wondered why in that moment it happened. I mean, it was interesting scene. It's not to say it's a good scene. It was an interesting scene, and it's
horrifying.
That it was interesting that Bev was there for it. So we, it was included in the viewpoint. It was just like odd to me that that's where the clown would choose to end him.
I agree.
But
having Beverly witness it, I think, though, was important because of the nature of the things that happen to her and that she facilitates. Like, there is a gross sexual awakening there.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. Yeah, maybe. Okay, so maybe it was like more, he was willing to sacrifice one of his rubes to.
Yeah, because he knew that Bowers was going to go the distance.
I don't like it.
No, it is not pretty. It's not. But this is why I say, if you're going to do this, do a real mini series so that you can, because this type of horror, that's why it's 1,000 pages, needs time to settle in your bones.
Yeah.
I'm literally still shaking. Let me wrap myself in my blanket.
Yeah, so the thing about this book, and the Stephen King novels that I really like, is like this back-built sense of history and like evil coming up through generations. Because to me, like, just people are bad. Like, people are evil all the time. That's every day. But what is interesting and what is captivating and terrifying is when there's this wave of it that comes through and just affects generations of people. That is what this book does really well. However, I feel like it could have more. That's the thing. It's like for all these pages, I would like less of children getting traumatized and more of the creepy history that Mike Hanlon was digging into. Those are the pages that I enjoyed.
There was a lot of that, though.
Yeah.
There was a lot. I guess it could have just been shorter and cut out some of the more squeamy bits, which we're gonna have to talk about, and we're gonna talk about it as cleanly as possible, because in my personal opinion, this shit was unfucking necessary.
Yep.
Something that always comes up when people talk about it is the way that the Losers Club escaped the sewers when they were children. And I didn't think about this before we started recording, so I'm not really sure how I can phrase this, but basically Beverly decided that in order to solidify their bond and allow them to escape together and intact as like the seven, she had to become the first love of every boy in the dark, dirty sewer, and she did it. They did it. They did the thing. And that is something they should never, ever, ever put in any film version, not even allude to it. They should always make a replacement for that.
That was just, and reading it was fucking horrifying.
Oh yeah, it's just dragged.
It was like, there are so many uncomfortable elements. Banging in a sewer, feeling like you have to bang multiple people for some reason, being 12 years old. Like, there's so many uncomfortable layers to this scene that I don't want to read. I don't want this. Take this the fuck out of here. I don't understand the utility of it, even like as a ritual, as somebody who is a practicing pagan person who does witchcraft. I don't understand, like, ritually what even the significance of it is. I mean, it didn't strengthen the memories between them. They are still in control of the magical power of it, because it all goes around its cycle. It doesn't matter. They still forgot. I mean, mm-hmm. I don't know that you could say that that's the reason why they came back together so easily, because nobody remembers it till the very end. Yeah. And
the way that Beverly remembers is fucking gross. She remembers when she's having sex with Bill.
Yikes. Yeah. And it's just, it's a very uncomfortable way, and it's the way the book ends pretty much. We get this long spiel of all of these children banging, which I don't want to read that. I don't know anyone who wants to read that. And then they get out of the sewer, and that part is kind of interesting because the town's fallen apart, and that would be a little bit more interesting, in my opinion.
Yes, they should have expanded on that, because its roots were so deep in this town that when it's defeated, the town is literally crumbling. There's earthquakes, there's cracks opening up in the fucking ground. That's interesting. Spread that around.
And then they get out, and then we have the corniest fucking possible end.
No, don't talk about it yet. Don't talk about it yet.
I hate it. It's just like,
I love it.
The last like 100 pages or so, I was just mad the whole time. I was like, why are you fucking wasting my time? I've been reading this for 2 fucking months. Why are you wasting my time with this bullshit? And then like I told Steph, maybe the reason why Bill in the new movie can't finish a book is because Stephen King knows how shitty this ending is.
Which is valid. That's bad. He's like, hey, you know what'd be funny? You know what's not funny, Mr. King? This shit. 2 things that I do love that weren't in the newer movies is Tom coming, like being possessed by it and coming into the town, and Audra coming. Mm-hmm. And then he steals him. And so Tom is like grown up Henry Bowers, and Audra is like grown up Beverly, which is fucked up because Bill married a girl who looked just like her. But I'm gonna mind my business on that one.
It's just so gross. That whole dynamic is just not okay.
No, it's not. 100,000%. So another thing that I really loved, the new one kind of just grazed it when they had it turn into that clown spider thing. I love that its final form was a big ass lady spider, because the horrifying part of that was you realize it's a lady. It is a woman and has laid eggs. Hundreds of thousands of eggs underneath the city. And you think about, oh my God, when are those bitches gonna hatch? And when they hatch, then what happens?
Also, Ben says, I think I got them all. I think I got them all, bitch.
You make sure.
You burn it all with fire.
Dude, throw some gasoline on them babies. I thought that was also deeply horrifying because I'm like, oh my God, if they hadn't come back, not only would they have died, not only would the children keep dying, the whole world probably would have been consumed by it. That's scary to me. So at the end of it, chapter 2, the way they defeat Pennywise is by talking shit, like you're nothing but a clown. In the book, it's a little deeper than that. The ritual of Chud is not something that Mike stole from Native Americans. The ritual of Chud is basically like believing you can. So Bill like imagines himself biting its tongue. Just the I'm not scared of you and this is what's happening is enough to disable it.
Well, yeah, and he throws him outside of the universe into this black void with a turtle.
It reminds me of the giant tortoise.
Yeah.
I'm like, get really excited.
And apparently the turtle is the creator of the universe because he got sick and threw it all up. And that's the mythology. And the thing is, again, it's very absurd sounding, especially like saying it in the light of day. I'm like, this is fucking dumb. But he could have, this is the story building, the world building that I really would have liked to learn more about. Like, what the fuck is this supposed to be? And like, in all of those passages, he indicates that there's a creator outside of this dark void that created the turtle and it. But why is it just the turtle and it? Are there other things in that void? Is it like...
Because in the beginning, it was just the turtle and it. Well, and the turtle's actually in another book, The Gunslinger.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I was like, that seemed familiar to me. I read like the first 2 a long time ago.
Yes, same. And after revisiting that, now I want to go back and read The Gunslinger because maybe there's more around the turtle.
Oh man, I'm just gonna like have to go on a Stephen King binge at some point and read a bunch of these because now I'm thinking I want to read Desperation again too.
Same. I just need to recover from this month.
Okay, so we see this. This was my least favorite part of the miniseries too. In the book, Audra is taken up by the spider, same as in the miniseries. Well, she gets abducted differently. The miniseries makes it a little bit condensed. That he gets her at a gas station instead of getting her in her hotel room. Or actually, I believe Beverly's husband actually takes her to it from that hotel. So she's catatonic, just like she is in the miniseries. She goes back and they stay at Hanlon's house. Well, Hanlon's recovering because Hanlon had gotten gored by Henry Bowers in the library, which I think they have that in the miniseries, but
I can't remember about the miniseries, but they have it in it chapter 2. However, it's like less dramatic. He doesn't actually get him. He just tries and then he gets he gets the axe to the head, so Mike never makes it to the hospital.
Oh, okay, yeah. So Mike's recovering in the hospital, and he tells Bill that he can take Audra and stay at his house, and try to recover her. But as you see, like in the book, everyone's memory is starting to go away again, and so to me, this is just unnecessary a little bit because I feel like the clown's magic is fading. She's gonna get better, obviously, because everyone's forgetting everything. So why wouldn't her brain go back to normal like it was before? I mean, I guess unless there was like severe
I think it's
damage,
because she wasn't part of the original. She's not from there.
Well, that's true.
So it could have just been like permanent damage.
But what? What magical like element is
it's the power of love
on a bike? He puts her on the bike like he does in the miniseries and drives through, and that the other thing I don't think works very well in the new movies is that they put it in 85 or whatever when it's supposed to be. By the way, my birthday is May 30th, 1985, which is the day they all arrive in Derry.
Hey, and you have an ancestor.
I do. I found an ancestor named Richard Tozier, so that was weird. That was
hilarious.
I was doing genealogy research and I was like, shit, I gotta finish that book.
And the timing. Yep. The timing is wonderful.
But it's just like so corny to me, like that ending.
I liked the setting of the 80s because I like that shit. But I'm certain that they did that because of Finn Wolfhard playing Richie.
Okay.
Because he was fresh off of the Stranger Things hype. So I'm pretty sure that's why they did that.
Okay, so I forgot to finish my thought there. I got sidetracked. But the reason it doesn't work is that fucking Hayo Silver Away shit. As somebody who was born in this is a reference to a television show in the 50s. Like only the nerdiest of nerds would have watched that shit in the 80s. Okay, like come on.
But we all know the reference. Like I know the reference. I knew it before I even read the. You're just mad because
you made me feel old.
She's just mad. I like this scene. Okay, so I understand. I like it a little bit less remembering that Bill and Beverly banged and that you called him feel like King Fuckboy. That makes it mean a little bit less. But I think Silver was an important totem for Bill. You know what I mean? And I just thought it was really sweet, and it was a little bit of sweetness to kind of like after you watch a scary movie and you watch cartoons, ma'am. No, I wasn't gonna say redeem him. After you watch horror movies and you're really scared and you watch cartoons before going to bed to make yourself feel slightly less like you want to die. I think that was an attempt there. You know, him riding his old bike with his wife on there and she comes out of her coma or her catatonic state. I liked it. Kick me in the face.
I don't like it. I don't like. You're gonna have to like it for both of us because I thought it was corny, and I
sure will.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. There were more compelling ways to end that. And
no, there are. You're not wrong there. There are, but that's what we got. So
that's true. I do like
to not hate it.
I do like that it kind of all starts to. I think there's a terror in the fact that it's all starting to fade. And Mike's like, I don't know. Maybe my journals are going to disappear. Like I've been writing this down the whole time. But my memory's going, so maybe these are going to go too, because it's like part of the magic of the experience, and that to me is terrifying. Like leave it there.
Awful. I just got another shiver.
The idea of losing, like going through that and losing it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I could see not wanting to remember the part when you're a kid and you're like all banging in a sewer. Like that's not yuck.
It's literally the worst. A lot of it's really bad, like, you know.
I do see where they got the Eddie Ritchie thing, and I like that they went that way with the movie. There was some, like, as somebody who knows a lot of fan fiction writers, I have several friends that write supernatural fan fiction and other stuff, and I feel like that's one that they would ship if they you know. But
also possibly Eddie and Bill, unfortunately.
I don't.
It's like hero worship. You know what I mean?
Like Bill, I don't like that. I guess I don't like the hero thing. That's what I don't.
Well, no, because I don't either. I think he fell into a leadership role because he was bigger than them. But Ben was a better leader, in my personal opinion.
And was smarter.
Mm-hmm. And he's also like sensitive. He's not a dick.
Yeah, I just like, I don't know. I feel you feel bad for Bill for what he goes through. Like the idea of like losing a younger sibling like that. That is.
And then his parents' reaction, like them dealing with their grief, had to have a huge impact on him.
Yeah. I mean, the story that like there's really compelling parts of him, but I just for some reason he's just like my bitch eating crackers in this. He makes dumb choices, and I think the worst thing about making the stupid ass choices is that he knows better. He fucking knows better. You can't tell me.
Yeah, but you know fuck boys.
Yeah, but he has this guilt. It's like, maybe you have that guilt for a reason, my dude. Maybe you're making a bad choice.
Certainly, but he was all about getting his pee-pee wet in some of these moments.
I'm sorry, just with...
It's just a human thing that some dudes have, unfortunately. Anybody watching this who is a person attracted to dudes, watch out for that. Red flag.
The thing is like, there are so many ways to love people. You don't have to fuck them. You don't have to fuck them. But here I am on the ace spectrum, so that's my opinion on that.
Yeah, also though, like, look at the rest of the book. It's a theme. It's a recurring theme. It's a bad one. It's a deep theme. Final thoughts?
I don't think I'll read this again in my lifetime. I think I've
Nope.
twice is enough.
Yes, I concur. I didn't even read it the second time. I just skimmed it, and that was too much for me. But I just think it was majorly important to talk about Mike Hanlon. And I don't care if anyone tells me I'm being overly dramatic. He's not real, but like I said before, representation matters. And when you have a character this good and you're going to put him on film, big film, and you're going to portray him this way, it's bad and you should be held accountable. Like we just had the Candyman remake. You know, Jordan Peele has done great things in movies. In this age, you cannot do this. You can't.
And if you read that book and Mike Hanlon's not your favorite character, I am eyeing you suspiciously. I don't see how you can read that and that like not be. He's the most compelling character. He's got the most interesting like backstory and like the things he's doing, like just that research he's doing and the way
he has the most
with his
substance. He has the most substance.
He's the best character, and like his experiences with everyone is like the rawest and most real too, in my opinion. Like especially with Derry and this idea that Mike and his dad, they endured so much at the hands of those people, but they stayed. They were like the sentinels that stayed and
the watchmen.
Yes, even though they were the ones that were abused again and again and again, and they're just like they're the best character, like bar none. The Hanlons are the best characters in the book. Bill's a dick. I don't like Bill. And I feel like the movies center around him, and to an extent, like the books do, in a way that I don't think is as compelling. I don't know. I guess Ben's more compelling. Mike's my favorite.
Yes.
Beverly, I feel like Beverly was written actually, aside from the creepy shit, he wrote her pretty good for a middle-aged man writing a teenage girl or a young.
Agreed.
I think he did a pretty decent job with that.
I feel like he probably consulted someone, which like good on you for doing, because like I said, representation matters, and she was the only friend who was a girl. So I mean, those two things are really important. My final thought is about Ben, because I was just rewatching the miniseries, and they make him like this like lady hungry guy.
Yeah, I saw.
And I didn't like that because when they show him, he's, you know, he goes to the same bar, like he's rich, he's very successful, and he comes to this little, you know, down home bar all the time. And when he leaves and he really feels like he's not coming back, but he gives the bartender like those coins to like set his kids up for their future. That is so wholesome. Ben Handsome. I love it.
Good character. Like that's like it should be.
That's why he got the girl.
Yeah, that's true. That they did give him the girl, but
thank God. Honestly, if they didn't, I would have been so fucking pissed. I would have burnt that book. I'm not kidding.
Well, here's the alternate like ending that would have pissed me off to the point where I did spike this when I finished it, but part of that was because it took me so fucking long to finish it. I'm a fast reader. I just didn't have
hard
reading time, and it's hard to.
It's hard to get through.
I would have burned it if for sure if it was that in the end Audra is a permanent vegetable and Bill and Beverly.
I would have committed fictional character murders. Straight up.
Crawled in there and beat him like I beat Darcy.
I love how often you bring that up.
Darcy's one of many though. I hate Rochester more than Darcy, so
I need Rochester sucks, but
Heathcliff, man.
We're gonna stop there.
Yeah. I would just like podcast. I would be a serial murderer of classical literary characters.
I support that.
That's the book needs to be written.
Agree. Hello, friends who write fanfic. Okay. So we're gonna literally close the book on Pennywise, and it's never, unless it's in passing in reference, going to be discussed again on this podcast because she's dead. Pennywise is dead. All right. We've been at this for about a year on this podcast, and next time we're coming full circle to where it all began with 31 Days of Horror. So make sure you stay tuned on our Twitter page, because that's where you'll find out what the movies are going to be. I'm not going to tell you here. It's going to be a surprise. So you can follow the podcast on Twitter at GITM Podcast, and you can follow me on Twitter at WitchXPudding.
And you can follow me at Nocturnical.
Okay, bye.